It's Rhode Island's largest city with hundreds of bars, clubs, and restaurants. So you might think Providence would see more drunk driving arrests as well. But the numbers show the city trails behind other communities. NBC 10's Katie Davis got answers when a viewer turned to NBC 10 for help.
It started as a night out with friends in Providence, but it came to a crashing end in the early morning hours of November 13th.
I was rear-ended pretty hard enough where my car ended up right here on the other side of the intersection.
Jenna Rossignol and her passenger escaped with whiplash, but when the women got out of her car at Hope and Doyle, she says there was a bigger problem.
I found out that the driver was drunk, very drunk, and it was so obvious. He was slurring his words, he was wobbly, and he passed out at one point in the car in the passenger seat.
Rossignol says the officer on the scene told her no one was available to give the other driver a breathalyzer test.
I couldn't believe it, and I said, well, can you get someone who is certified for a breathalyzer? And he said nobody is certified right now who's on duty.
NBC 10 obtained this copy of the police report. It says no alcohol or drug tests were given and that both drivers were in, quote, apparently normal condition.
He didn't even do a sobriety test. And I even made sure that the police officer saw how drunk he was.
So we dug deeper and uncovered the actual number of officers certified to run breathalyzers in communities around the state. In Warwick, 119 officers are certified, or 73% of the force. Cranston, 95 officers, about 70%. Woonsocket, 53, about 58%. East Providence has 42 officers, about half of its department. Pawtucket, 65 officers, or 40%. And in the state's largest city, only 20 Providence officers are certified to run breathalyzer machines. With about 477 total officers, that's about 4% of the force.
You can stop as many people as you want, but if you're not going to have people certified to actually do the testing, that's a problem.
Gabrielle Abadi with Mothers Against Drunk Driving says her concern goes beyond breathalyzers to the number of convictions. In 2009, the most recent statewide data available, Providence took 85 drivers to court for DWI or refusing a breathalyzer. But smaller communities had much larger numbers. Woonsocket, 166, Coventry, 165. Middletown, 122, and Warwick, a whopping 371.
That means for every driver sent to court from Providence for DWI or refusing a breathalyzer, there are 4 drivers from Warwick.
I think that just says that they're not putting a spotlight on DUI. If you listen to law enforcement officers that are, in the other communities, they're arresting people that have come from Providence.
So NBC 10 asked Providence police why there's a gap in the numbers.
I'm not sure. It's a good question. We'll have to take a hard look.
Colonel Dean Esserman says when he took over the department 8 years ago, violent crime was out of control, and he was forced to shut down the department's traffic division to deal with it.
But it's never enough, because in a big city, you're pulled so many different ways. We put so much of an emphasis on bringing violence down in the city, and we've succeeded.
Esserman says the breathalyzer numbers also deserve a hard look. He says the department may have as many as 60 officers certified once new recruits hit the street. He also promised to find out what happened to Jenna Rossignol.
Any concern that you could end up in a situation where there is nobody available?
No. We need to make sure people are always available. This story you just brought to my attention will be investigated fully today.
Rossignol says she got a call from the chief immediately after our interview, but she's still concerned that more officers aren't certified and more arrests aren't being made.
Isn't that what their job is, to keep us safe? I don't feel like I'm safe.